Hi, everyone, and welcome to Pop Crime TV. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, or join my channel. Today, we are going to talk about the sudden death of Richard Simmons and the fact that the LAPD has announced that his death is under investigation. They have stated they do not believe that foul play is involved, but let's talk about what we know. So, Richard Simmons, he turned 76 on Friday, July 12th. He had a great day. He was very tired from celebrating his birthday. And Friday evening, his housekeeper was said to have found him in the bathroom after taking a very bad fall. Now, the fall was so bad that she said, Richard, you should really seek medical attention. You should really go to a doctor. And Richard said, I'm really tired. It's my birthday. I'd rather not. I'm just going to go to bed and I'll get checked out tomorrow. I think that a lot of us can relate to that. We're like, we feel fine. We're tired. We'll get it checked out tomorrow. So he went to bed. We later find out from Richard's brother that he had also experienced symptoms of dizziness that day. He told his brother he wasn't sure if he had food poisoning. We don't know if Richard was throwing up or it was coming out the other end. That has not been revealed. But what we do know is that Richard went to sleep on Friday, July 12th. And the next morning, July 13th, his housekeeper, the same one that found him in the bathroom, went to wake him up, found him in his bedroom on the floor, unresponsive. And we later know that he passed away. So very, very sad. And initially, the cause of death was revealed as natural causes. And then the autopsy report came out and it was stated that they needed to investigate further. Let's not forget Bob Saget. So sad. He also took a horrible fall in the shower, decided to go to bed, and he never woke up. I want to give some context into Richard Simmons and his housekeeper as well, and why his death seems to be suspicious to certain people when it comes to his housekeeper. For one, I don't believe anything is suspicious, but I think it's important to address it and also address why Richard left the public eye. So Richard, his last interview was with CNN in 2014. He really had been scarcely seen since then. In 2022, there was a TMZ documentary, and I will get to that, but there was a picture that was taken by TMZ, a paparazzi photo of Richard in the back of a car leaving a hospital, and he was unrecognizable. He had a hat on. You had no idea that this was Richard, and it was speculated that he possibly had this knee replacement that he had been putting off for a very long time. He had a very bad right knee. He didn't want to be seen as this weak man. He wanted to go out on top with all this energy and all this love and positivity that we all knew him to have. So he wanted to just keep that image. He wanted to stay that way in our minds forever. So I think that's part of the reason that he left the public eye. However, I'm going to play something from Inside Edition from 2016. When the podcast Missing Richard Simmons came out, this became the most popular podcast there was, and it was made by Richard's friends. One of them was his masseuse, and he was the one that accused Richard's housekeeper of holding him hostage. I think you're going to find this pretty interesting. Let's pull this up.
Is Richard Simmons a prisoner in his own home? It's the shocking allegation coming from a new podcast that's getting a lot of attention today. Missing Richard Simmons is the #1 podcast in America. It's being produced by Simmons' close friend, TV producer Dan Taberski.
3 years ago to the day, Richard Simmons completely and inexplicably stopped being Richard Simmons. and I want to find out why.
It's now 1,000 days and counting since Richard Simmons was last seen in public. 3 years since he walked away from his life as America's most outrageous workout guru. For all that time, he's been holed up here inside his sprawling Hollywood mansion.
What do you say to yourself in the mirror in the morning?
This was Simmons' last public appearance, an interview with CNN shortly before New Year's 2014.
He hasn't been seen in public since.
Simmons cut off ties with all his old friends. He also closed his workout studio in Beverly Hills. He just vanished. One friend, Mauro Oliveira, claims Simmons is being controlled by his longtime housekeeper, Teresa Reveles.
She realized I was in the house. She started screaming like a witch. No, get out, get out, get out, get out. I don't want to hear me. Richard looked at me and said, you got to go. I said, really? Is she controlling your life now? And he said, yes.
When I caught up with the housekeeper, she didn't have much to say. Can you tell us how Richard Simmons is doing? Can you tell us anything about how he is today? The last time we heard Simmons' voice was last June when he called into the Today Show. He denied he was being held against his will.
To all the people that are worrying about me, I want to tell them that I love them and that not to worry, Richard's fine. No one is holding me in my house as a hostage. I do what I want to do as I've always done.
So there you have it. I thought Richard's statement was interesting. He did not say his housekeeper's name, Teresa. He said, no one is holding me hostage. So this could be interpreted a few different ways, I guess. Maybe he didn't want to draw attention to her any further because it's just so ridiculous. Or maybe we should have been looking elsewhere to see who else was involved with Richard's life and his estate during that time. But again, I'm not so sure that it necessarily matters now. I am just disappointed because Richard was not necessarily back in the spotlight, but he was working on a Broadway show. He was working on a biopic, and he was back to storytelling. He was on X and on Facebook, and he was just talking about things that happened in his life, things that happened with Oprah, just really fun stories that I think everyone found very interesting and really appreciated. So I want to just go and play something very quick. When the TMZ documentary came out in 2022, again, such a fan of Richard. I talked about it on Fox News, and I had a chance to really speak about who Richard was as a person, what affected him, and kind of why he wanted to leave the public eye when he did. I'll pull that up really quick. I'll only play a little part of it. I look so crazy. My hair looks orange. I don't know what I was thinking during that time. Let's see. Okay, here it is. Sharing the screen, guys. Yeah, I look so different. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. Ew.
Reporter and host of the Lauren Interviews podcast, Lauren Conway. Thank you so much for joining me in studio. So I want to go straight to the Facebook post, and this is totally him. Thank you, everyone, for your kindness, love, Richard, and it's the big happy face with the thank you. What happened?
The sweet and entertaining. It's incredibly eye-opening, and it really gives us an inside look on Richard and how he really felt about everything. Now, everybody knows him as this over-the-top, larger-than-life man. He really struggled inside. He really, really cared about everybody he helped. So he internalized that. I mean, some people said that he would be so emotional that he would cry until he snotted everywhere, you know, because he was so invested in his clients. Now, I think back and you know how sensitive he was, and he probably wouldn't be able to handle.
It's too much.
Well, today, the trolls on TikTok and the trolls on Twitter, I mean, and you know, how sad now that if he's.
Okay, so I'm turning this off because my internet is not that great today. Go figure. But what I was trying to say was that Richard was such a sensitive soul. He cared about each one of his clients, each one of his friends so deeply that I think he was in his own head a lot. He really was. And so we can't really blame him for wanting to be out of the public eye. He didn't have to be in the public eye, so he didn't want to be. And I do feel like towards the end of his life, he was enjoying what he was doing, tweeting and putting out these posts. And so I hope and pray that he did not suffer when he passed away. And I'll stay on top of this. I will do another video when his cause of death is released, probably a short, because most likely it won't be anything crazy, or I hope. But again, thank you for watching. RIP Richard Simmons. You are so loved and you are so missed, and your legacy will live on.